technologically challenged in my entire life, but here we are. All right, before I start, welcome everybody. We've got Akani, Blessing, Kiara, Denver, Isabella, and is it Yanola? Yanola? Why Nola? Just let me know. I see Esther was also online just now. All right, before I start, is there any specific questions on anything specifically? So I can deal with those questions first and then go through the POE again, sort of question by question, and sort of work out exactly what you got, if there is anything that you guys want to know. Yes, Isabella, go for it, ask the question.
I have a question just regarding the report. I just wanted to know
Isabella,
if the discussions must be presented on a separate page, like if they have to, because how I did it, I presented them like within my report. So
sorry, Isabella, I can't hear you. Are you chatting to me? All right, I can't hear you. Is everybody else? Can anybody else hear Isabella? Okay, let me just change. All right, Isabella, how's that?
can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. I just changed my speakers to another set of speakers. Yes, go for it. Yeah, Isabella.
Okay, perfect. So I was just asking about the report, and if the discussions like with our participants must be like on a separate page completely, because how I did it, I put them within the report. So like I said that, like for an example, I was like, my one friend commented, and then like I put in quotation marks what they said, and then I gave like my opinion on that discussion.
Yes, that is what my expectation is. If you look at the question, present your findings of the discussion you had with the two participants, that's for 5 marks. And that's part of your report. So the report will be in sort of report format. So my expectation is that it looks like a report. So we'll have an introduction and a conclusion, or a section. We normally have a section called findings. So it would have a small introduction. So we'll say this report will aim to discuss and explain the purpose of the technological adoption model, hereafter called the TAM. It will use the technology model to measure the intention of customers through a questionnaire, and it will also indicate whether the technological product you chose provide, and etc. And then, so that's your little introduction, and then it will go through the different sections. So each section will have, and I'm really encouraging you to use sort of a subtitle. So this section will have the technology adoption model, and then it will have another section, sort of questions 3.2, and then we'll have another section for questions 3.3, and then we'll have findings, and then you'll have your results. And it'll say in that 3.3, 3.4 area, you'll say things like the questionnaire that I used is attached as addendum A. So for ease of use, include your questionnaire as an addendum to your assignment. I was actually asking about it on the group this afternoon. That would be a lot easier rather than having it as a separate sort of attachment. It's included as an addendum in your report. So your report will have a cover page. It will have a not your report, your actual assignment. Just remember your actual assignment. So your assignment will have a cover page. I'm putting together a template for you, and I'll post that this evening. It will have a cover page. It will have a content page, and then it will have an addendums, and then your reference list right at the end. So Isabella, does that? Yes, absolutely. Subheadings are absolutely fine. Blessing, your question is the findings, interviews, how should they be presented on separate? If so, how should they? Does my answer your question? Just let me know in the chat, please. Akani, you're asking, I don't have a textbook yet, there's been a delay. Will it be possible to do the POE part 1 without the textbook, or is there online version? Akani, there is an online version. You can actually purchase the ebook, and I know that a lot of people have purchased the ebook. Unfortunately, a lot of the theories are in the textbook. So what I can do is, it's highly illegal, but I can post maybe the relevant parts of the textbook as a PDF. But if I get found out, I might get in trouble, but I can do that. I know that you can share up to 20% of a textbook for the class. So obviously I can share those with you and you can use those. But the problem, but that's only if you've already bought the textbook and so forth. But as I said, you can buy ebook. Those are widely acceptable. I know that it's out of print, but you can buy ebook, and I think most people have bought the ebook as well. Does that answer your question, Akani? Isabella? So there's a question because I interviewed my participant, but I can write up these answers. You write the answers. You need to write up the answers in your findings. All right. No, you summarize the answers. Blessing, summarize the answers in your findings section, and the addendum is simply the questionnaire. All right. Okay, Isabella, just give me you can switch on your microphone and just ask the question.
Sorry. So there has to be a questionnaire in the assignment, like within the report. I can't just like present the discussion in the report.
Which questions did you ask them?
What do you mean?
Did you ask, when you talked to them, did you ask them any questions?
Yeah, I asked them I think it was 3 questions or 2 questions that the assignment gave us.
Then that's your questionnaire.
Okay.
Because you asked the same questions to all 3 people.
Yes.
So you can just say questionnaire for discussion, and you can give a little description as part of that. Then you can say below were the questions that I asked for each of the participants. The participants answered in a very informal way, and all of the answers were noted and presented in the findings section of my report. So
okay,
that to me is sufficient. Because if you didn't have a formal sort of questionnaire, it says question 1, question 2, question.
Yes, okay.
That's also okay. You can just say these were the questions I was asked during the interview, and all of the findings were presented in my report above. That's also okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, no problem. Are we only supposed to ask the questions given, or is it okay? Absolutely, it's okay. I think the questions were very sort of very directed. But again, if you manage to get a lot more information and a lot more sort of an idea by asking so many different questions, then that's okay. So absolutely. As long as you ask similar questions to all of your participants. All right, excellent. Are there any other questions on the report? So let's start off with the report as the area I think where most of the questions has come from. So just to recap, introduction to your report, and then a conclusion. And before the conclusion, you'll have findings. So findings in there, and then before that, there'll be the different sections as per as per these. So there'll be a section for that. That will be your findings. There'll be a section for that. There'll be a section for that. And then 2,300 words, it's a lot. If you get to 1,800, and even if you get to 1,500, that's also okay. I'll be more than okay with that. I don't want you to try to go to 2,300 by repeating things and thus by waffling on and on and on. A good answer is a succinct answer. It's an answer that only answers what you need to answer. And again, it is 30 marks, the third of your report. It's the third of your assignment. So make sure that you sort of cover everything that you need to. Two of the questions are very much sort of a theory-based questions, and when you explain, especially in question 3.2, I'm looking for some examples as well. And I posted an article. There's actually two articles. The one article from the strategy website, and the other article is the original article around disruption, which will be a good article to also read as part of your that article from strategy website. That guy is very good. And you can quote that. You can quote it. It's not academic research, so it's not peer reviewed, but I will accept that. He's a very good writer. He has a very good understanding of technology and adoption and innovation, and it'll be a good a good background information, as well as if you want to quote specific parts of it or use it in your assignment, that will be more than okay. All right. Are there any other questions on the report? For the one question was 3.2. It says customers twice. My guess that it's a typo. Explain how customers can use to measure the intention of customers to adopt the organization. Isabella, which I was meant to say organization for the first customer. Explain how customers can use technology to measure the intention of customers to adopt. Yeah, no, that should be organization. All right, good, thank you. All right, any other questions for the report? All right, good. Let me move on to maybe start off with question one. So question one, part one is 60 marks. So part one is 60 marks. The report is 30, so that's half of the report. All right. Yes, Yonala, it will count towards the report, towards the word count. Blessing, yes, just making sure. What are you making sure of, Blessing? Just ask the question. Again, if you look at the actual word count, if you look at the marks, 2,300 words, it's a lot. The report for 30 marks, it shouldn't be longer than 1,500 words. If you're looking at 10 marks is about a page, give or take, typed up. So another it's about less than three pages. And that should be less than 1,500 words to 1,800 words. So 2,300 words, even with the introduction and conclusion, is a lot. All right. Okay, Yanela. You asked a question about referencing. Sorry, I might have missed it earlier. Yes, yes, Isabella, it is Harvard. Just a question, how many of you are studying for the first time? All of you have been with Varsity College online for the last 2 years, eh? Is that correct? For the last year? Akani, I will do that. Okay. So it's Harvard, but it's IIE Harvard. So just make sure that um, yes, you do reference blessing. It is an academic submission, so you reference everywhere. Um, but you can't reference your participants. So in your findings, you will have a breakdown. Say, in my interview with my participants, this and this and this. So you're referencing your participants, but you're not referencing them as a you're referencing the findings of it. So you don't have them as a reference as a person that said something to you. But you reference you reference their conversation. Make sense? So it's IIE Harvard referencing. So please make sure that you get the IIE referencing guide for those that just want to make sure that they've got the right one. And then, yeah, are there any other questions? Good, guys. I really appreciate all of these questions. I know that for the last 2 weeks I've been trying to get online, but I was unfortunately in a space where I just struggled to get online, and I just struggled to get then upload the necessary stuff. So let's have a look at part question 1.1, distinguish between digitization and digitalization. So this is from your textbook. You can have a look at part 1.3.2, which is in chapter 1. So I will post chapter 1 for you, the full chapter. You will just need to work through it and sort of access those parts of it. And the major difference between digitization and digitalization, is there anybody that wants to venture forth and explain to us? Digitization is simply taking something that is analog. So for instance, the example that the textbook gives, it's a record player, and then taking that same source and moving it into a digital format. So the first digital format of the record player was into a CD, which was then a digital format from the old analog format. The same thing with the ebook. It is just taking the same book, the same paper-based book or analog book, and then digitizing it into a ones and zeros so that you can view it onto a different format. But then we talk about digitalization. Digitalization is a completely different process, and it is the process of if you look at page 9, digitalization in turn refers notably to the bigger set of all transformation that changes are required to make the digitization process. So it's the entire process of digitization. So it's not just digitization of analog, but it's also the entire process of running your business in a digital form, running even online meetings. Even this online teaching is a form of digitalization in which we're using digital forms, digital ones and zeros to teach, whereas it would have been in a classroom. So it's all about the transformation and change. Technology provides impetus for transformation. So whereas digitalization refers to the process of translating something in digital form, digitization refers to the reconceptualization and reconfiguration of processes and systems from analog and physical centric forms into maximally digital centric forms. Page 9, section 1.3.2. What I'm looking for is also maybe, other than the textbook, maybe another source as well. Again, just note that it is 5 marks. So, I mean, that's like 2 paragraphs maximum, not more than that. Explain the advantage of adopting digitalization. That's also in chapter 1. It's actually on page, goes through a whole evolution, the fourth industrial revolution, Japanese societies, others view, views and paradigms, various techno-economic paradigms, various 5 steps, binding rationale for technological advancement. So there's a breakdown of it on page 23 if you go on. And then there's a great discussion at the end of the chapter, which is technological change exogenous or endogenous, which is a great way of looking at it. Does technological revolutions have changed and improved societies? That's also chapter 1, and you'll find that specific answer actually on 1.5, where they talk about the human or the animal body, talk about physical labor, sensory organs, nervous system, the human brain, and then it talks through, it has the underlying rationale behind this is that more tasks we can delegate to technology, the easier our lives will be, as noted by Hayek. The general notion is that civilization advances by extending the number of important operations which can be performed without thinking about them. I want you to, for that particular question, I want you to throw in a bit of AI and robotics, and what is going on at the moment. How potentially AI and robotics, which is a form of the fourth industrial revolution, how that potentially is going to improve society or possibly not improve society. Again, it's 5 marks. I don't want the entire thesis and a discussion, but what I want to see is a bit of the sort of the newer technologies as part of your answer for that. All right. Does that make sense for you in terms of question 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3? Let's have a thumbs up. Again, it's 5 marks, Isabella, so just be mindful of how much you write. And if you want to go back to it, maybe use ChatGPT as a form of maybe summarizing it to make it shorter, without losing your reference and without losing your voice. And let me just pause there. Let me just pause there and talk about the use of AI, the use of ChatGPT and so forth for helping you with your assignments. I think I did mention it in our very first session that we had. I am more than comfortable with you using it. But once again, it's a tool that you use. Don't rely on it to write your assignment for you. So I'll repeat that. It's a tool that you use. Don't rely to write the assignment for you. You still have to know whether the output that's giving you, whether it is sufficient and whether it's true. And you have to verify that with references. The second thing is that ChatGPT is very verbose. It uses terms and it uses words that you don't use in your writing. So the most jarring thing for me to read something that you write and then the very next 2 paragraphs is not in your own voice. And then I can see that that was electronically generated and you've just copied it straight over. And that is frustrating because you are going to lose marks. And to me, it's just lazy if you copy and paste direct line for line, word for word from ChatGPT. Write something, put it into ChatGPT, see the output, and then rewrite it in your own voice so that your own voice comes through. All right. So it's good for summarizing. You can put a PDF into ChatGPT and it can summarize it for you. You can ask, give me the key points of this article. So it's a great tool, but again, don't ask it to write the assignment for you, because it's not your own voice. It doesn't use your particular style of writing, and that is where the problem comes in. All right. Absolutely, it does help with improving style. It does help with writing things in a different way. You've got a sentence, or you've got like 2 or 3 paragraphs that you've written, and it's just you're not comfortable with it. You put it in there. You say improve this, but again, you need to be mindful of the terms and the phrases and the words they use in terms of the vocabulary that you don't use. So just be mindful of that. All right. Does that make sense, guys? Just in terms of ChatGPT, the use of LLMs, the use of these, they are absolutely useful as a tool, but do not rely on them to write it for you entirely. Okay, great. So that's question 1. Let's move on to question 2. So question 2 is also a very good, interesting question. Your second consultation with entrepreneurs requires you to use figures 3.2 below from the textbook to explain how the 3 major forces underpin successful digital disruption using practical examples. Sorry, the article that I sent through to you is this article around digital disruption, which is a fascinating article. If you read that strategy article from the website, he goes in great detail about how the original article that was written around disruption and disruptive innovation, how he got it wrong. So the technological leg of the crucial triad, the market demand leg of the crucial triad, and then the business model. So what I am also looking for here is to also almost have, even if it's a small one, a small introduction, and just talk about sort of this model. And then you can go into question 2.1, sort of the tech leg, the market demand leg, and then the business model. So these 15 marks in total. And you don't need a conclusion, but just maybe 3 or 4 sentences that sort of leads into each one of these sections. It's not for marks, but it will just tie up this answer into one, because it's I know it's 3 questions, but it's actually one question in 3 parts. Okay. So question 2 can be found in chapter 3. So chapter 3 deals with technology disruptions, Google's AI and AR, cancer treatments, 3.2. So figure 3.2 can be found on page 72, and it talks about the crucial triad, the business model, the market demand, and the technology leg. And then it goes into a discussion on page 73, the technological leg, the market demand leg, and the business model leg. And then disruption equals adoption, and what is meant by adoption. So it's a very interesting one. So I will post chapter 1 and 3 for those that don't have access to it. But please just make sure that you do have access to your textbook before the next parts are due. All right. For the technology adoption model, could AI be considered an example for all 3? How will you use AI as your business model? Because remember, the business model is the leg that sort of uses the technology to build a sustainable business around it. like who's your customers, how do you market it. So that's the business model around it. So OpenAI has an interesting business model. So they've got a free version and then a paid version. So their business model is based on adoption. So they want as many people to use it, so they give it for free. But then if you want additional features, then you have to pay for that through a subscription. So their business model is based on recurring income through a subscription model. Whereas if you think of Microsoft Office 365 has got a model that they're slowly moving into. So they're moving into a subscription model, whereas before you purchase Office apps and stuff, and you have it for life, literally. And then it just gets updated regularly. So imagine that, buying a piece of software and you have it forever. So their business model was based off a once-off purchase that was quite high, but then you lose that customer forever because they're not coming back to you, even though you're using your product. So subscription-based business models are a new thing. They've only been around for about 6 years. This whole idea of buying something and paying for it each month to use it is new. Before that, we used to buy something. You used to buy software in a box. You get an access code and a CD, and you upload it to your laptop. That's how we used to do it 5 years ago, even. But now we can download it from the internet and we can use it, but we have to pay monthly for it. So it's a very interesting one. Does that answer your question, sort of from a business model perspective? How could what be considered a digital disruption? The question is, what is the disruption? What is disruption? Yes, as their business model. So it's their business model isn't their business model that they're transitioning to. They're not new to it. They sort of a late adopter of it. The one that disrupted the industry with the subscription model is Apple. Apple was the first one that moved into subscription music service. Apple was the first one that moved into subscription, a lot of things, where you buy storage. You can subscribe and you can pay for storage, for additional storage. A lot of the other companies, they're only sort of coming into it later. But have a look on page 68 where they talk about disruption, which equals convergence. So think of convergence. Think of how two things that are completely separate comes together. So think of Uber and Uber's business model. So Uber's business model is a convergence of three different things. It's a convergence of private car ownership, transport, and software. Three completely different things. So they looked at traditional transport and they said there's a company that owns a fleet of taxis that employs drivers, and people call and they book a taxi. The driver comes out to them, or they send whoever's closest to that person, and that person then pays the person right then, and they pay them with cash, or they used to, they moved on to cards. But you pay the person as you finish off, at the end of it. You don't know who's coming. All you know that a taxi is coming to you. You don't know what time they're going to be there. You just know they're on their way. That's all you know. So they looked at that model and they said, how do we build a business that transport people without owning any cars? So think about that for a moment. How do we build a business model that transports people from point A to B without owning any cars? So who's going to drive us? People that have cars, private people with their private cars. How are we going to get people to book? We develop an app where people can book a car, they can see who they're booking, and they pay on the app. They know upfront how much it's going to cost. Whereas with traditional taxi services, you only know when you finish a ride how much it's going to cost. You've got an idea, but you don't know for certain. So they looked at all of the things that traditional transport taxi services have, and they say, we're going to do away with all of them. You go onto your app, you see who's coming, you can book one driver over another driver, you use a rating system, you use the app to pay for it, you don't exchange any money with the driver, and then so that's between them and the customer, and then they've got a relationship with the drivers. They say to the drivers, we don't want to employ you, here's an opportunity to list your service with your vehicle on my app and on my platform for people that uses the platform to choose you. So that is a wonderful convergence of technology, car ownership, transport, into a business model. So that's the business model of Uber. Uber's business model is what makes it so successful. It is not the app. The actual app is just a normal stock standard. It's a piece of software. It's a booking piece of software. That's all it is. You go on there, you book something, a product, a service, and you pay for it. So the actual Uber app itself is not revolutionary. It's not even innovative. It's just a stock standard app. It's their business model that makes them so successful. And the business model is the disruption rather than the software, the technology. Does that make sense? I know I answer it in a very roundabout way. Yanola? Have a look at the chapter, and have a look at the triad, the three different legs, and see how the three interacts, because you can use all three as, or one of them as, the disruptive element. And yes, to answer your question, disruption does impact the market and other businesses. It will even impact businesses that you don't even compete with. That's completely different from you. All right. No problem. That was a good question. Thank you very much for that question. Guys, are there any other questions regarding sort of part one of the POE? I don't want to belabor too much for this evening. So are there any other questions that you guys might have? All right, excellent. Thank you very much, Isabella. Thank you, Blessing. I see Kiara has just left. Are there finally any questions, questions that you guys want? You can post it on the WhatsApp group or better yet, you can just email it to me as well. There's always good to email, because then there's a trace and there's a background to it. And yeah, I hope this evening's session was useful. I am going to come online again on Thursday evening, our scheduled time, for final Q&A. I know it's due on Friday. So on Sunday evening, on Thursday evening, again at 6 o'clock, I'll be online. And by then, hopefully, you'll have a 95% completed assignment. And then if there is any questions between now and then, I can possibly answer it for you on Thursday evening. All right, excellent. Thank you very much for that feedback, Isabella. Great stuff. I do know that there was a whole bunch of people that was on the WhatsApp group earlier, and I'm not sure. Oh, Isabella is online. Izzy? Is Izzy here? Oh, is that Isabella? Isabella, Izzy? Was that your WhatsApp name? Got it. Who else? Okay, I see everybody that was online earlier is here this evening. Great. Guys, everything of the best for those that have started already. Hopefully this evening has given you a bit of more structure and a bit of a better feel. I'll be posting, if not tonight, tomorrow morning early, I'll post the Word document that you can use. It's just a template, so it will just have just a breakdown of how you can structure your entire assignment. All right. Great stuff. Guys, thank you very much for your evening. Have a great evening further. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.